Oh my gosh, you guys, it's Naomi Wolf again, starting all over after a 9-minute really good intro in which the sound wasn't selected correctly. So let me know in the chat if you could hear me and see me, uh, hear me as well as see me. And I'm here with the 1560 Geneva Bible, Numbers 32. So as I was saying before I had to start all over, we're at Numbers 32, and I'm just reminding you, or telling you if you're joining us for the first time, this is the Founders Bible, the Puritans Bible, Jefferson's Bible, Shakespeare's Bible. And what we found throughout this 2-year journey of reading through this Bible, comparing it with the Hebrew Masoretic text, the original Hebrew, and then comparing those with a modern Revised Standard Version, is that there are horrible mistranslations in the modern English versions of the Bible that all tend to make God seem meaner and more irrational than he is in the original, and artificially inflate the role of theocracy, basically the role of organized religion, which isn't there in the original in the same way. So picking up now again with Numbers 32, I'm just going to remind you, call attention to something really weird. In the last couple of chapters, to refresh your memory, the children of Israel have finally, they're still wandering around in Midian, right, which is like southern Jordan to the east of the Sinai. And God has told Moshe in the last chapter, you're not going to set foot in the land of Israel, on the Holy Land. You're going to be gathered to your people, meaning you're going to die. Very poignantly, he'll be able to see across the valley. He'll be able to see the Dead Sea. And I've been taken to this mountain in Jordan where this is alleged to have happened. And it is very moving because you can see the whole valley. You can see the Dead Sea, you can see Jericho, you can see the Judean hills in the distance, just beyond which is Jerusalem would be founded. But he could see the promised land, but he couldn't get there before he was gathered to his people, as God said. And so in these chapters, Yahweh is basically doing a lot of admin. Right, it's some admin chapters, but it's really weird admin because God is making arrangements with Moshe about a succession plan, kind of almost a corporate plan, or a strategic plan or a battle plan, how to have a commander step into Moshe's role when Moshe physically passes away. So they've established that it's going to be Yoshua, it's going to be Joshua, but also there's even a division of the land. And I'm going to tell you in a minute what's so weird about that. God literally, as you recall, said, okay, there are 12 tribes. One of the tribes is a priestly tribe. They don't need land. They're going to get sustained by the offerings at the temple, right? Some of that meat and bread and oil goes to sustain the priests and their families, the Levites. But there are 11 other tribes. And we've already established that there's going to be a division of the land that God has been saying for a generation he's going to give these people. And the division is very systematic according to the population of each tribe. They get a certain amount of land. And also there are 2 tribes who are going to help engage in battle to assist the children of Israel in settling in the promised land, but then they're going to go back to what is now southern Jordan and settle in those lands there. They're happy there. They made kind of a request to be kind of given an exemption to stay where they are and not cross the Jordan into the promised land. And so I guess what I was saying in my fantastically brilliant intro that had no sound, but I'll say it again, is that this is not, I've said before that there are these sequences in the Hebrew Bible that have a weird verisimilitude because they don't follow normal human narrative conventions. But they have weird specificity for, dream or imaginary conventions, right? So it does leave you this impression that something really happened here. So what's weird about this is that there's a detailed allocation of the land, ahead of them, um, detailed down to the level of, and these people don't need land because they're priests, and these people are going to stay in southern Jordan, and the rest of you are going to go, take it up according to your population. The battle hasn't happened yet. They don't have any reason to believe that they're going to be, in human terms, that they're going to be successful in battle. They're crossing into a land that is already fully inhabited by other people, right? The Canaanites, the Moabites, like there are lots of people already living in the land that they have been told they need to go take possession of. And, as the scouts pointed out, these are scary adversaries. The scouts said, they're giants, we're like grasshoppers to them. There's no human reason for this group of humans to believe that they will be successful entering this rich, fertile territory that's already thickly settled and taking it over. But God's already allocating the land as if they've already had a military victory, as if they've already overcome all these walled cities, unwalled cities, settlements, altars, communities, tribes that are already thick on the ground in the land of Canaan, and he's apportioning out the booty, basically the conquest spoils. Now, this is not normal narrative sequence because, of course, in King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, or Beowulf, or Homer's Odysseus, Ulysses, there's first the battle and then the allocation of the spoils of war. First the battle, then the allocation of the spoils of war. I mean, even in classical antiquity and history, I was just reading about Trajan's column, and there was the conquest of Jerusalem in 70 AD by the Roman Empire after a brief 4-year briefly successful rebellion by the Jews. And then there's a celebration in Rome, and Trajan's column shows what we've been reading about, the golden menorah from the temple being carried through the streets of Rome, right? The allocation of the spoils of war follow the military victory. You don't do it the other way around. But as I was saying, in these chapters, we're not in human time. We're not in military time. We're really in some weird timeline that is God's timeline, in which God has already decided. He's been telling the children of Israel, you're going to inhabit this land because I'm with you and I'm God. That's literally, if you go back to, the whole 2 years of what we've been reading, that's the core message. Have faith in me, trust me, do it the way I ask, because I'm God, and I created you. I created the whole thing, heaven and earth, in 7 days. I created it. And it's my plan that you will go in and take possession of this land. And because I'm God and I've shown you, and he always enumerates, like, it's kind of like emotionally taxing, this relationship, because God is always saying, I took you out of the land of Egypt. I parted the ocean for you. I gave you manna in the desert. I gave you water in the desert. I, miraculously had you overcome your adversaries. I devoured your, reprobates with, who brought strange fire and tried to lure you away from worship of me. I showed everyone around who I am, right? There's a lot of showing the world, almost like God is debuting, like this monotheistic creator of all things is revealing himself in creation. He's showing his, I don't want to say credentials, but it's like human beings haven't figured out yet the magnitude of the idea of one creator, not a cat god, not a thunder god, not a sun god, not one of a pantheon of gods, but one creator who has created everything, who's all powerful. So Yahweh is really trying to get the children of Israel to grasp this concept, stick with it, and then second step in the relationship, trust him. Now, I want to mention that word trust, because I'm reading a very interesting book called After Jesus, Before Christianity, which was put together by the Jesus Seminar, a group of scholars who have been trying to peel back 2,000 years of ecclesiastical structure around Jesus and try to figure out who was Jesus, who were the early followers of Jesus. And one of the things they point out is that the word pistis in Latin is translated in English Bibles, New Testaments, as faith or belief, but it's really more like trust or confidence. And we've run into that word in Hebrew a lot. There are two iterations of it. Bitachon is like security or confidence, and emunah is like belief. But it's not like blind faith or believing a creed. It's better translated as confidence or trust. And so this is the essential relationship that God is asking the children of Israel to engage in with him. Trust me, not like believe in me, like I'm a big weird religion and you have to just swallow everything I tell you. It's not like that at all. It's like, trust me, I've got this, right? Let's have a relationship in which you trust me. And in that respect, it really is, I always go back to that marriage metaphor. It's really like God is saying, look, let's really be married. You can't be checking my phone all the time. You can't be asking me if I, think those other people are attractive, you have to trust that I love you. I'm God. I have these powers. I'm going to get you to the promised land. So I just wanted to, before we dive in, I just want to really call your attention to the weirdness of the sequence of allocating the land before the battle has happened, like the certainty that God has, and that Moses goes along with him. And by now the children of Israel are pretty much going along with it because they've seen a lot of miracles, right? They do keep making mistakes and, falling short of that complete trust that God wants them to have in him. But they really are like, okay, God, here we are in Jordan and we've been wandering for 40 years. You said we're going to cross over there. We can see those Judean hills. They look really good and pretty. There are a lot of cities over there that are already inhabited. We're only like 144,000 people, but okay, you're telling us how to allocate the land before there's been a battle. All right, we're with you. We'll go along with that because you're God. So that's literally where we're at on the outskirts of the land of Israel. And so now I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started with the Geneva Bible, reading the beautiful 16th century text. And here is chapter 32. And again, if you don't have a physical Geneva Bible text, because they are not cheap, you can go ahead and just go to, archive.org, the Geneva Bible 1560. All right, and the subheadline is the request of the Reubenites and Gadites and their premise unto Moses. Moses grants their request, the Gadites and Reubenites and half the tribe of Manasseh conquer and build cities on this side Jordan. Now that's the east side of Jordan. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had exceeding great multitude of cattle, and they saw the land of Lazer and the land of Gilead, that it was an apt place for cattle. Then the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spoke unto Moshe and to Eleazar the priest, and unto the princes of the congregation, saying, the land of Atatot and Dibon and Lazer and Nima and Cheshbon and Eliat and Shivam and Nevo and Beon, which country the Lord smote before the congregation of Israel, is a land meet, meaning appropriate for cattle, and your servants have cattle. Wherefore, as a result, said they, if we have found grace in your sight, let this land be given unto your servants for a possession, and bring us not over Jordan. And Moshe said to the children of God and to the children of Reuben, shall your brethren go to war and you tarry here, you stay here? Wherefore, why now discourage you the heart of the children of Israel to go over into the land which the Lord has given them? Thus did your fathers when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. So Moshe is saying, remember, a generation back, the scouts discouraged the children of Israel from going in, and God was not cool with that. For when they went up each unto the river of Eshcol and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, that they would not go into the land which the Lord had given them. And the Lord's wrath was kindled the same day, and he did swear, saying, none of the men that came out of Egypt from 20-year-old and above shall see the land for the which I swore unto Avram, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, because they have not wholly followed me, except Caleb the son of Yefuneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua the son of Nun, for they have constantly followed the Lord. And the Lord was very angry with Israel and made them wander in the wilderness 40 years until all the generation that had done evil in the sight of the Lord were consumed, had died. And the note says, because they murmured, neither would believe their report and told the truth as concerning the land. And behold, ye are risen up in your father's stead. You've, risen up like your parents did, and an increase of sinful men still to augment the fierce wrath of the Lord toward Israel. You're just making God angrier at Israel by asking this. For if you turn away from following him, he will yet again leave the people in the wilderness, and ye shall destroy all this folk. So Moshe so believes that aligning with God, doing God's bidding, protects the children of Israel, that he's saying, if you, once again, like your parents did a generation ago, turn away from what God has asked, God's going to be so angry, he's going to abandon us in the wilderness, and then we're all going to die. You shall destroy all this folk. And the note says, by your action. And they went here to him and said, we will build sheepfolds here for the sheep and for our cattle, and cities for our children. But we ourselves will be ready armed to go before the children of Israel until we have brought them unto their place. But our children shall dwell in the defenced cities because of the inhabitants of the land. We will not return unto our houses until the children of Israel have inherited every man his inheritance. Neither will we inherit with them beyond Jordan and on that side, because our inheritance is fallen to us on this side Jordan eastward. And Moshe said unto them, if ye will do this thing and go armed before the Lord to war, and will go every one of you, and the note says before the ark of the Lord, so the ark is also going into battle, and will every one of you go in harness over Jordan before the Lord, meaning in service, like an animal, right, in harness, until he has cast out his enemies from his sight, and until the land be subdued before the Lord, then ye shall return and be innocent toward the Lord and toward Israel, and this land shall be your possession before the Lord. But if you will not do so, behold, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure that your sin will find you out. And the note says, the Lord will grant you this land which you require. And then the note says, ye shall assuredly be punished for your sin. Build you then cities for your children and folds for your sheep, and do that you have spoken. Then the children of Gad and the children of Reuben spoke unto Moshe, saying, your servants will do as my Lord commands. Our children, our wives, our sheep, and all our cattle shall remain there in the cities of Gilead. But your servants will go every one armed to war before the Lord, for to fight as my Lord says. So concerning them, Moshe commanded Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun and the chief fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel. And Moshe said unto them, if the children of God and the children of Reuben will go with you over Jordan, all armed to fight before the Lord, Then when the land is subdued before you, you shall give them the land of Gilead for a possession. But if they will not go over with you armed, then they shall have their possession among you in the land of Canaan. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben answered, saying, as the Lord has said unto your servants, so will we do. We will go armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, that the possession of our inheritance may be to us on this side Jordan. So Moshe gave unto them, even to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben and to half the tribe of Manasseh, the son of Yosef, the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the land with the cities thereof, and coasts, even the cities of the country round about. Then the children of Gad built Dibon and Atarot and Aroer and Atrot, Shofan and Lazer and Yogbeha. And whoops. And that is the 1560 Geneva Bible. And let's see if we have read everything in chapter 32. Let's see. They built all those cities. Is there anything else? Yes, a few paragraphs more. And Bet Nima and Bet Haran defenced cities, also sheepfolds. And the children of Reuven built Cheshbon and Eliah, Eliale, and, sorry, it's very difficult to read, Kiryataim and Nebo and Baal Meon, and turned their names, and Snibna or Shibna, and gave other names unto the cities which they built. And the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, went to Gilead and took it, and put out the Amorites that dwelt therein. Then Moshe gave Gilead unto Machir, the son of Manasseh, and he dwelt therein. And Lai, the son of Manasseh, went and took the small towns thereof, and called them Chamor Lai. Also Nobah went and took Kenat with the villages thereof, and called it Nobah, after his own name. And that is the end of that chapter. Let's take a look. We'll stop sharing there. I'll stop the screen. So trippy, right? Like, again, God's timeline. Moshe is apportioning land to these, 2.5 dissident tribes, essentially, Gad, Reuven, and half of Manasseh. And assigning land in southern Jordan, that is inhabited by other people and other cities, and that hasn't even fallen yet. So he's so sure of the outcome. He's like, okay, go ahead. As long as you fight with us, then you're innocent before God. You haven't betrayed God. You've got us settled in the land of Canaan, the promised land. You can come back to this side of Jordan, the east side of Jordan, and take these territories that are now fully inhabited by other people. So Moses is also like making arrangements for a post-settlement, post-conquest, acquisition of land in what is now southern Jordan by 2.5 tribes that don't want to cross over into the west side of Jordan, which is the land of Israel. Wow. There's really no way to explain it. And then you also get, again, that word verisimilitude. You get this very detailed geographic description of how all these pagan cities were renamed by the descendants of Gad and Reuven and half of Manasseh, so that they renamed them kind of Hebrew or Israelite names, essentially, including they named them after themselves, these conquerors. So it's definitely, imperialism, right, or conquest. renaming, reclaiming, like it's taking over inhabited territory, inhabited by people who don't worship Yahweh, and saying, okay, we're now going to worship Yahweh here. We're going to rename everything. We're going to do things differently. But again, this is all happening in advance of the conquest. Very improbable. All right, now let's go to Bamidbar, and we'll just zip through in the Hebrew and see what's what in chapter 32. And you can see the Hebrew there, Bamidbar. And remember, Bamidbar is the Hebrew name for numbers, and it means in the desert. So Rav Haya Livnei Reuven Umikne Rav, and there was abundant kind of livestock. There was to the sons of Reuben, Ulivnei Gad, and the sons of God, Atzum Meod Vayir'u et Eretz Yazar, very numerous, and they saw the land of Yazer, Ve'et Eretz Gilad, in the land of Gilad, Ve'hine hamakom makom mikne, and here it was a place for livestock. Ve'hine hamakom makom mikne. You can hear the poetry there. Here, the place was a place of livestock. It's much more poetic in Hebrew with the repetition of the mem sound and the kaf sound. V'yavo b'nei Gad, and they came, the sons of God, uvnei Reuven, and the sons of Reuven, v'yomru el Moshe ve'el Elazar, and they said to Moses and Elazar, HaKohen, the priest, ve'el nesi'ei ha'eda lemor, and toward the princes of the community, saying, Atarot ve'dibon ve'yazer, Atarot, Dibon, Yazer, Nimra, Cheshbon, Eleah, Eliale, Sebam, Nebo, and Beon, all these place names. Haaretz asher hikeh Adonai, the land that the Lord struck down, Lifnei Adat Yisrael, before the congregation of Israel. Eretz Miknehu is a land for livestock. Ve'la'a vadecha mikne, and your servants, to your servants there are livestock. Literally, avadecha, it's the same word, we've run into it a lot, slave, worker, servant. Okay? Vayom, but it's definitely a term of respect in this context. Vayomru im matzanu chen be'enecha, and they said, such a beautiful phrase, it's translated, if it pleases you, but it's limtzochen is to find charm in your eyes, if we've pleased you, right? If your eyes have found us charming. Imatzanu chen benecha yitan et haaretz hazot, let this land be given, la'avadecha, to your servants, la'achuzah el te'avirenu et hayarden, as an inheritance, as a heritage, do not take us across the Jordan. Vayomer Moshe livnei Gad ulivnei Reuven, and Moses said to the children of God and the children of Reuven, Gad, G-A-D, not God, right? Reuven, ha'achechem yavou lemilchama ve'atem teshvu po. It's so familial. Moses said to the children of God and the children of Reuven, are your brothers going to go to war while you sit here? Literally, while you sit here. It also means you settle or you stay here. Velama tniun, why you discourage et lev bnei Israel, literally the hearts of the sons of Israel, ma'avor el haaretz asher natan lahem Adonai, to cross over to the land which God has given them. And check out that tense. God has already given the land to them, past tense, even though they haven't crossed over and had the fight yet. They're like talking about preparing for war, even as Moshe says, God's already given you this land. So the tenses are very garbled in the way that I described in my introduction, because it's already happened, even though the humans still have to meet the test of going to war, putting on their battle clothes, taking their arms, crossing the Jordan, and going to war. Ko asu avotechem, thus did your fathers. Beshalchei otam Kadesh Barnea, when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea, lirot et haaretz, to see the land, to explore the land. V'ya'alu ad Nachal Eshkol, and they went up to the, it says Valley of Eshkol, but it's literally the stream of Eshkol, so I'm not sure why it's translated valley. V'yir'u et haaretz, and they saw the land. V'yani'u et lev b'nei Israel, and they discouraged literally the heart of the children of Israel, lebilti bo el haaretz, to not to fail to cross into, to come into the land, asher natan lahem Adonai, which the Lord gave them. And again, the tenses, it's in the past tense, which the Lord had already given them. Okay, ve yachar af Adonai b'yom hahu, and literally the nostril of the Lord flared. It means his anger was kindled in that day. Ve yishva lomar, and he swore. Ve yishava lomar, and he swore, saying, quote, im yir'u ha'anashim ha'olim mimitzrayim, none of the men from the age of 20 years and over who came out of Egypt, Shana u me'ala et ha'adama, will see the land, asher nishbati, which I swore. You hear the repetition of swore. L'Avraham, liYitzchak, liYaakov, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Ki lo mil'u acharai, because they did not follow after me wholeheartedly. Bilti, except for Caleb ben Yefuneh, the son of Jefuneh ha-Knizi, the Kenuzite, bin Nun, the son of Nun, V'Yoshua bin Nun, and Joshua the son of Nun, ki mil'u acharai Adonai, for they followed the Lord wholeheartedly. V'yichar af, and the nostril flared, God was angry, Adonai, God, Israel, in Israel, vayinaam bamidbar, and he made them wander in the desert, 40 shana, 40 years, ad tom kol hador, until they had died out, all the generation, ha'oseh hara b'nei Adonai, which had done evil in the eyes of the Lord. Vehine kamtem, and here you have stood up, tachat avotechem, in the place, literally under your fathers, in the place of your fathers, tarbut anashim chatim, as a society of sinful, sinning people, lispot od al charon af Adonai al Israel, to add more to the wrathful anger, literally the flaring of the nostril of God against Israel. Ki tishuvun machara me'acharav ve'yasaf od lehanicho. If you turn away from following him, he will leave you in the desert. Lehanicho bamidbar, he'll leave you alone in the desert. He'll leave you in the desert. Ve'sachatem lechol ha'am hazot, and you will destroy this entire people. End quote. Ve'yigshu elav, and they approached toward him. Ve'yomru gidrot son, and they said to him, we'll build enclosures for sheep. Nivne, will build le miknenu po ve'arim letapenu. We'll build sheepfolds for our livestock here and cities for our children. Ve'anachnu nechaletz chushim lifnei bnei Israel, and we will then arm ourselves quickly and go before the children of Israel. Ad asher im habo onum, ad asher im he vi onum al hamekomam ve yashav tapenu be'arei miftzar mifnei yishvei haaretz. Until we have brought them to their place. Our children will reside in the fortified cities on account of the inhabitants of the land. And by the way, I'm stumbling a little because there are some unusual verb constructions here that I am not familiar with. Lo nashuv el batenu, we will not return to our houses. Od, again, hit nachel bnei Israel ish nachalato, until the children of Israel, each of the children of Israel has taken possession of his inheritance. Kilo ninchal, and you hear the repetition of lenachel, that root is inheritance, because we will not inherit itam, with them, me'ever layarden, on the other side of the Jordan, vehele ki ba'a nachalatenu alenu, and beyond, vehela, and beyond, because she comes, our inheritance, on us, me'ever hayarden mizracha, because our inheritance comes on us across the river Jordan to the east. And I just want you to hear the very beautiful and lingering poetry of Me'ever LaYarden, across the Jordan. It's like the Jordan is a geographical boundary, but it's also like a metaphysical boundary. It almost represents two states of being. And even now, like in Negro spirituals in the 19th century and into the early 20th century, crossing the Jordan, of course, westward into the Promised Land, often is used as a metaphor. We've talked about this a little bit, for crossing over into freedom. But these people are saying, we'll go over and help you get settled, but our inheritance is on the east side of Jordan. Vayomer Alehem Moshe, and Moses said to them, Im ta'asun et hadvar hazeh, if you will do this thing, im techaltzu lifnei Adonai lemilchama, if you arm yourselves for battle before the Lord, ve'avar lachem kol chalutz, and you cross over with you all your armed forces, all your chalutzim, all your chalutz. Yeah, I think armed forces is best. Et hayarden, the Jordan, lifnei Adonai, in front of God, ad horishu et oevav mipanav, until he has driven out his enemies before him. And you hear the echo of that, oevav, his enemies, mipanav, from before his face. Nichbesa, and she will be conquered, haaretz lifnei Adonai, the land before God, in front of the face of God. Ve'achar tashuvu vehaitem nikim me'Adonai, and afterwards you may return, you shall be freed of your obligation, you'll be clean, really, me'Adonai, in front of God, u me'Yisrael, and from Israel. Vehaita haaretz hazot lachem le'achuza lifnei Adonai, and then this land on the east of the Jordan will be your heritage, literally your percentage, your portion before God. Ve'im lo ta'asun, and if you won't do this, kan hine chatatem, here you will have sinned, l'Adonai, you will have sinned in front of God, to God, literally. Ud'u chatatchem asher timtza etchem, and know, be aware, that your sin will find you. B'nu lachem arim, build to yourselves cities, letavchem ugdarot, letzonachem, cities for your children and enclosures for your sheep. The hayotze mepichem ta'asu, and that which has exited from your mouth you should do. Vayomer b'nei Gad, and the sons of God said, uvnei Reuven, and the sons of Reuven, el Moshe, to Moses, lomar, avadecha ya'asu ke'asher Adonai matzaveh. That is to say, your servants, your slaves, your workers will do that which God commands. mitzaveh. And that word mitzaveh is the same root as mitzvah, like bar mitzvah. It's the same root as commandments. Okay. Tapenu, nashenu, our children, our wives. You hear the music, the echo. Miknenu, our livestock. V'chol behemtenu, and all of our beasts, essentially. Yusham be'arei hagilad, will be there in the cities of Gilad. Ve'avadecha, and your servants or your slaves, ya'avru, kol chalutz, will cross over all armed combatant. Tzava, of the army, lifnei Adonai, before God, before the face of God, lemilchama ke'asher Adonai diber, to war as God, Adonai, my Lord, has spoken. And it's a little unclear there if my Lord means Moses or God, because God is also called Adonai at other times. Ve'yatzav, I'm so sorry. Ve'yatzav lahem Moshe, and there's that word again, mitzvah, yatzav, commanded, and commanded to them Moses, et Elazar HaKohen, Elazar the priest, ve'et Yoshua bin Nun, and Joshua the son of Nun, ve'et Roshei Avot Hamatot Livnei Israel, and all the paternal heads of the tribes of the children of Israel concerning them. Vayomer Moshe alehem, and Moses said to them, Im ya'aviru bnei Gad uvnei Reuven, and Moses said to them, if the descendants of Gad and Reuven cross the Jordan, itchem et hayarden, with you the Jordan, kol chalutz lemilchama, every person armed for battle to the war, lifnei Adonai, in front of God, v'nichbesha haaretz, and the land is conquered, lifnechen, in front of you, v'netatem lahem et haaretz hagilad le'achuza. You shall give them the land of Gilad as a percentage or as an inheritance. V'im lo ya'avru, and if you don't cross over, chalutzim et itchem, the armed forces with you, ve'ne'ochazu betochechem be'eretz Canaan, they shall receive a possession among you in the land of Canaan. Ve'ya'anu bnei Gad uvnei Reuven, and they answered, the children of God and the children of Reuben, lomar, to say, et asher diber Adonai, that which God has spoken, al avadecha ken na'aseh, that which God has spoken to your servants, yes, we will do it. We will make it happen. And you know that phrasing from other times. It's such an important phrasing. It's not just na'aseh, but it's like the affirmative, ken na'aseh. Yes, we will do it. Yes, we will make it happen. Nachnu na'avor chalutzim lifnei Adonai. We shall cross over an armed battalion in front of the face of God. It's very inspiring. Eretz Canaan, the land, to the land of Canaan. Ve'itanu achuzat nachalatenu me'ever liyarden. And then we shall have as our portion, our possession, our inheritance on this side of the Jordan. Ve'iten lahem Moshe livnei Gad ulivnei Reuven, and he gave to them, Moses, to the sons of God and to the sons of Reuven, vele chatzi shevet Menashe, and to half the tribe of Menashe, ben Yosef, the son of Joseph, et mamlechet Sichon melech ha'amori, half the tribe of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sichon, king of the Amorites, ve'et mamlechet Og melech habashan, and the kingdom of Og, the king of Bashan, haaretz le'area bigvulot are haaretz saviv, and the land, Bashan, the land together with its cities, within borders, the cities of the surrounding territory. And here it gets so geographically specific. he's already apportioning this, all these cities that are built by other people. They yivnu b'nei Gad et Divon ve'et Atarot ve'et Aroer. I'm going to zip through this because it's like 10 lines of place names. The descendants of God built Dibon, Atarot, and Aroer, and Atrot, Shofan, Yazer, Yogbeha, and Beit Nimra, and Beit Haran, fortified cities and sheepfolds. The descendants of Reuven built Cheshbon, Ele, Ale, and Kiryataim, and Nebo, and Baal Meon, their names having been changed, and Sibma, and they were called with names of the cities they built. So there's this renaming by the children of Israel, by these 2.5 tribes. The children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, went to Gilad and conquered it, driving out the Amorites who were there. Moshe gave Gilad to Machir, the son of Manasseh, and he settled on it. Vayeshev ba, and he literally sat in it. Yair, the son of Manasseh, went and conquered their hamlets and called them the hamlets of Yair. Nobah went and conquered Kenat and its surrounding villages and called Nobah after his name. So that is the end of this chapter in the Hebrew. And let's stop sharing. And you can really hear, the language of, I said imperialism. You can hear the language of conquest. And I do want to speak just for a moment. I can't help it. Like, you can't help reading these chapters and not thinking about the contemporary situation in which, these lands, these same territories are so disputed. And I just kind of want to remind everyone, and I'm not saying it's easy or simple or not painful. It was painful for the children of Israel when they were conquered by Rome in 70 CE, and their temple was razed to the ground and they were crucified. Thousands and thousands were crucified, and 20,000 enslaved and brought to Rome. And then they were also dispersed as slaves around the Roman Empire, right? That was very, very painful. But I'm just reminding everyone in this chapter that conquest and reconquest and reconquest and reconquest was history in this region, in every region at this time in human history. There weren't, there wasn't a UN. We've talked about this. There wasn't NATO. There weren't international treaties. There were treaties, eventually, but force was everything. And resources were everything, because these were nomadic sheep and cattle herding and goat herding tribes. And there's only so much land and there's only so much water. More importantly, there's only so much water, especially in this kind of geographical setting. Again, I've been to that region of Jordan, and Mount Nebo is where Moshe is said to be buried. I want to double check that, but that's my memory. And it's so dry. It's so dry. To this day, there are water wars about the use of the water in the Jordan River. And how much more so at that time. So it's just, how can I put it? It doesn't really make sense for anyone in the region to say, we were here during the Ottoman Empire, or we were here, during the British Mandate, or we were here after 1948. These were our boundaries. These were not our boundaries, because everything is always being conquered back and forth. Boundaries are always being pushed back and forth, right? And, I want to say that is equally to pro-Israel forces as pro-Palestinian forces. There is no such thing as a static Palestine that goes back in history. There's no such thing as a static Israel that goes back in history. It is definitely the case, Palestinians can make their own arguments, of course, but it's, you see from this text, you see from the archaeological record, and I'm not, making a political statement. I'm just saying there is no way to avoid the fact that there were kingdoms of Israelites in the region that we now call Israel, actually much more than the region we now call Israel. I've shown you the map, chunks of what is now Lebanon and what is now Syria and what is now Jordan. And that this group of scruffy former slaves entered those lands, settled in them, and eventually built cities, had kings, had architecture, had religious practices, had a capital city, Jerusalem, had a main temple on the Dome of the Mount. All of that really happened. And, there's no way to know how much of what I'm reading is fable and how much is, literal human history. But in many ways, archaeologists have shown where the archaeological record or other records align with the histories that we're starting to tell. Now, that'll be more and more true as we get into the judges and the kings, and literally, King David, King Solomon. These are real people who left real imprints upon the landscape. But I guess I just wanted to say, it was a time of conquest and reconquest. Sovereign nations didn't have the meaning that they have later. It's tribes, it's families, really. It's really much more like Bedouins or gypsies or almost like gangs, fighting against each other and taking territory. So I think the reason I mention that is that it's much better to make peace than to kind of and build our nations than to obsess about like who was here when, because that's a very ahistorical reading. That said, there's no question that this text says the children of Israel, these 12 tribes entered the land at this time. That's what this text says. All right, so that's it. Very interesting. I think it's very interesting. Let's just quickly take a look at the Revised Standard Version. We're coming to the end of our hour, and we're not going to read the Revised Standard Version all the way through. We're just going to see if there's something unusual that comes up. Let me reshare my screen with the Revised Standard Version. Oh, I see what I did. I didn't open the Revised Standard Version correctly, so let me do that right now. Conquest and division. All right. Now I'm going to open it, share the screen. Thank you for being with me. Here we go. Conquest and division. I don't like this translation, but let's see. Conquest and division of Transjordan. Well, that's already a kind of tendentious subtitle. And of course, it doesn't exist in the text. Conquest and division of Transjordan. Because what is Transjordan east of the Jordan River, or is it west of the Jordan River? It looks like these editors are referring to Canaan, the promised land, as Transjordan, which is, if so, incredibly tendentious, as if Jordan existed as a nation, or Jordan the river, and they're calling the promised land Transjordan, which just isn't a term that exists as a place name in the Hebrew Bible, but it tends to kind of erase the promised land as having been assigned to the children of Israel. Let's see what they mean by that. Now, the sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle, etc. That's fine. And they said, if I have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants for a possession. Do not take us across the Jordan. But Moshe said to the sons of Gad and to the sons of Reuben, shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? Why will you discourage the heart of the people of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord has given them? Thus did your fathers when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. For they went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land. They discouraged the heart of the people of Israel from going into the land which the Lord had given them. And the Lord's anger was kindled on that day, and he swore, saying, surely none of the men who came up out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swore to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me. None except Caleb, the son of Yefuneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua, the son of Nun, for they have wholly followed me. End quote. And the Lord's anger was kindled against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years, until all the generation that had done evil in the sight of the Lord was consumed. And behold, you have risen in your father's stead a brood of sinful men, to increase still more the fierce anger of the Lord against Israel. Well, I think that's a little bit, that translation's a little overstated. It's certainly to increase more the anger of the Lord against Israel, but they're really elaborating in a way that isn't there, that God is mad at Israel. For if you turn away from following him, he will again abandon them in the wilderness. You will destroy all this people. End quote. Then they came near to him and said, we will build sheepfolds here for our flocks and cities for our little ones, but we will take up arms ready to go before the people of Israel until we have brought them to their place, and our little ones shall live in the fortified cities because of the inhabitants of the land. We will not return to our homes until the people of Israel have inherited each his inheritance, for we will not inherit with them on the other side of the Jordan and beyond, because our inheritance has come to us on this side of the Jordan in the east. That's reasonably accurate. So Moses said to them, if you will do this, if you will take up arms to go before the Lord for the war, and every armed man of you will pass over the Jordan before the Lord until he has driven out his enemies from before him, and the land is subdued before the Lord, then after that you shall return and be free of obligation to the Lord and to Israel, and this land shall be your possession before the Lord. Well, that is definitely not what it says. It doesn't say in Hebrew free of obligation to the Lord and to Israel. It says you'll be clean to the Lord and to Israel. So this translation is trying to basically create in Jordan 2.5 tribes of Israel that split off from Israel and have nothing to do with Israel, and that kind of God has blessed. And that's not what this says at all in the original Hebrew. And this land shall be your possession before the Lord. But if you will not do so, behold, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. That's correct. Build cities for your little ones and folds for your sheep, and do what you have promised. And the sons of Gad and the sons of Reuben said to Moshe, your servants will do as my Lord commands. Our little ones, our lives, our flocks, and all our cattle shall remain there in the cities of Gilead. But your servants will pass over, every man who is armed for war, before the Lord to battle, as my Lord orders. All right. So Moshe gave command concerning them to Eleazar the priest and to Yeshua the son of Nun, to the heads of the fathers' houses of the tribes of the people of Israel. Moshe said to them, if the sons of Gad and the sons of Reuben, every man who's armed to battle before the Lord, will pass with you over the Jordan, and the land shall be subdued before you, then you shall give them the land of Gilead for a possession. But if they will not pass over with you armed, they shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Gad and the sons of Reuben answered, as the Lord has said to your servants, so we will do. We will pass over armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, and the possession of our inheritance shall remain with us beyond the Jordan. And Moshe gave to them, to the sons of Gad and to the sons of Reuben and the half-tribe of Manasseh, the son of Yosef, etc., 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 and then all those place names. I'm just going to look at line 32, because I could swear it did not say that in Hebrew. Let's see what it says in Hebrew. We shall cross over in an armed force before the Lord to the land of Canaan, and then we shall have the possession of our inheritance on this side of the Jordan. In Numbers, we shall pass over armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, and the possession of our inheritance shall remain with us beyond the Jordan. Do you see what they did there? They're so sneaky. I really can't stand it. The translators in the Hebrew, they're basically saying, these 2.5 tribes, we really like this land here to the east of the Jordan. Can we take it as our inheritance instead of land across the river? And That's what it says in the Hebrew. It's like a negotiation. It's a swap, essentially. It's a swap for labor. Moshe is saying, if you send over your armed soldiers to help the children of Israel get settled, then you can take your possession to the east of the river. And if you don't, take your possession, to the west of the river in the Promised Land. The Revised Standard Version, first of all, they invent a place called Transjordan. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. There's Me'ever LaYarden, there's across the Jordan that way, across the Jordan that way. They're talking about lands to the east and the west of the Jordan, but there is no region or land called the Transjordan. And what these awful translators have done is basically invented a nation that existed before the children of Israel settled in Israel called Transjordan. And that does not exist. It doesn't exist. Why are they so horrible? It's not in the Hebrew. It doesn't exist. No such thing. In fact, the land of Israel doesn't really have a single unitary name. It's a bunch of different tribes at that time. And then in the translation, the translators falsely indicate that the inheritance of Gad and half of Manasseh and Reuven is the Transjordan. So they're falsely establishing or claiming that the descendants who are now in Jordan are 2.5 of the tribes of Israel. And that's just not true. Giving basically Jordanians sort of equal weight in the inheritance discussion with Yahweh, which is not in the text. You can make that case politically if you want to, but it's not in the text. All right. I guess I'll end there. It's been an hour. Thank you for joining me. You guys, I really need your help. We need support. This is Loki. He always likes to sit on my lap when I'm reading from the Torah. I wonder why. I wonder how it plays out in his little puppy brain. But I really, we have like 79 subscribers, paying subscribers on Substack, even though we have like thousands of listeners. So if you can afford to, please go to Substack. Dr. Naomi Wolf reads the Geneva Bible. It's linked to my Substack Outspoken. Please subscribe. Please be a paying subscriber if you can possibly afford it. It's kind of an urgent request. If you can afford to subscribe to Outspoken, $7 a month, please do. Go over if you can make a one-time donation to Daily Clout and make that one-time donation, please. As you see, we don't have ads. We don't have sponsors for these readings. It's just me and my team, but there are fixed costs, hosting costs, editing costs. I don't even want to bore you with all the costs, but they exist every month. So I need to look after my team. I'm doing this for love, but they have babies to feed. So please do subscribe or donate if you can. I love you to bits, and I will try to see you tomorrow. All right. This has been the 1560 Geneva Bible, Chabad Bible. Now you know what evil Chabad is up to. They're giving you an original version of the original Hebrew Masoretic text and the Revised Standard Version. A lot more interesting than we were told. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.